Hello everyone, I'm Kiran Kapleshwari, and I did my AP World final project on Ashoka the Great. Let's get right on into it. Also known as Ashoka the Great, Ashoka was the third and last major ruler of the Mauryan dynasty. He led the Mauryan Empire to its peak, expanding it to its largest. After years of victorious and bloody conquest, the emotionally devastated king renounced violence and became a patron of Buddhism, spreading it throughout the world. Some general information about Ashoka. Ashoka was Chandragupta Maurya's grandson. He had 4 wives and 5 children. He lived from 304 to 232 BC, and his death marks the end of his reign after 36 years as emperor. His symbol was the lion. Here we can see a famous example of it, the lion column at Sarnath, known as the lion capital. Ashoka's global impacts include uniting large regions of India and promoting the spread of Buddhism around the world. Ashoka was first called Chandra Ashoka by Buddhist monks, which means Ashoka the Terrible, due to his violence and disposition. However, after his conversion, he became Dharmashoka, which means the pious Ashoka. Here's a general categorization of events in chronological order for Ashoka. We will later go more in depth regarding his conquests, administration, and edicts. His accession to the throne was a long process that began at an early age when he first showed prowess in several areas like combat and statesmanship. Soon, he became a favorite of the king, even though he had a low position in the court due to the fact that his mother wasn't one of the important wives of the king. Ashoka was appointed governor of Avanti, and his control over the growing Mauryan army made his older 99 brothers jealous. The eldest of the brothers, Shushima, convinced the king to exile Ashoka under the pretense of a revolt happening in the city where Ashoka was exiled. However, as soon as Ashoka reached Takshashila, the city where he was exiled to, he was welcomed, and the revolt was ended bloodlessly. This made Ashoka even more popular with the king and the court. This happened again, except this next time there was a conflict where Ashoka was in fact injured. This is very important because it led to him being introduced to Buddhism for the first time via the Buddhist monks and nuns that treated him. Later, the emperor fell sick and appointed Tsushima emperor, but the ministers and court didn't like him, so they called upon Ashoka to take over the throne. Ashoka stormed Pataliputra, the capital city of the Mauryan Empire, and killed his 99 brothers, all except his younger brother, whom he spared. The next section is conquests. Ashoka sought to expand his empire, launching assaults for 8 years, annexing South India, all but Sri Lanka, and after a bloody conflict, the kingdom of Kalinga. In 265 BC, Ashoka personally led an attack on Kalinga. On this slide, there's an image depicting what the Mauryan forces may have looked like. This leads to the next section, his conversion to Buddhism. He ordered mass destruction and murder during the war with Kalinga, and the morning after the battle at Kalinga, he saw the impact of his brutal actions and had a breakdown. Later in the capital city, Pataliputra, he was convinced that he continued to see the effect of his war. This led him to renounce violence and weapons, and he reconnected with Buddhism, devoting himself completely to it. Our next category of Ashoka's life is the beginning of his peaceful administration. Soon after he converted to Buddhism, his administration had only one goal: to protect the welfare of his subjects. Ashoka improved upon the Mauryan Empire's administration, making it extremely organized. The final category of Ashoka's actions and life is his religious policies and edicts. Ashoka made Buddhism the state religion around 260 BC and used Dharma as the backbone of his administration. Here we have a picture of a real Buddhist temple Ashoka built and also Buddhist art/architecture made under Ashoka's reign. Now we'll move on to Ashoka and his impact on the world. Ashoka led the Indian subcontinent to new heights, a golden age with a united India. All parts of life and society in India prospered, with art, architecture, and the economy and more improving. In the first 8 years of his rule, he quickly and efficiently conquered most of North and South India, and in his 8th year of reigning, he conquered the kingdom of Kalinga. The victory of Kalinga made his domain the largest than any of his predecessors, but it came at a great cost, 100,000 to 300,000 lives. He created a centralized super government centered on Pataliputra. The result of all his conquests was a united India, one of the most powerful empires of the time. Here we have images of the land under the Kalinga kingdom to the left, and the extent of the Mauryan Empire under Ashoka to the right. Global impact, Buddhism. The other global impact Ashoka is responsible for is the spread of Buddhism throughout the world. Ashoka spread the teaching of Buddha all throughout India and to far-reaching places through the use of his policies, edicts, and other techniques. Ashoka abolished the killing and mutilation of animals in his kingdom. He promoted the concept of vegetarianism and promoted a policy of conquest by dharma. Additionally, Ashoka promoted a policy of tolerance in regards to people of different faiths. In his eyes, the caste system didn't exist, and all peoples were equal. In fact, according to multiple sources, quote, Emperor Ashoka had a very important contribution in spreading Buddhism in the world, end quote. Ashoka went on periodic trips to actively practice Dharma, preaching the Dharma to rural people and helping them relieve their sufferings. Ashoka made his high officials do the same, in addition to attending their normal duties. He also supported a sub-school of the Satrivada sect, which is now known as the Pali Theravada. He even sent members of the royal family, including his son and daughter, Mahendra and Sagahamitra, to carry out duties of Buddhist missionaries. His missionaries were sent to some of the following places: the Seleucid Empire in Middle Asia, Egypt, Macedonia, Cyrene, which is modern-day Libya, and Epirus, which is now Greece and Albania, and more. Wow, it's time for the open letter! From Ashoka to Mr. Callahan's AP World students? That certainly shakes things up. Quote, all men are my children. As for my own children, I desire that they may be provided with all the welfare and happiness of this world, and of the next. So I desire for all men as well. Best wishes, Ashoka the Great. This is an accurate portrayal of goals of his administration and the level of impact his conversion had on his mindset. This image shows Ashoka with some of his ministers and other court officials. Ashoka's edicts were vital to him in spreading Buddhism around the world. To spread his teachings and work, Ashoka created a series of announcements and engravings on rocks and pillars. The engravings were known as the rock etiquettes and the pillar etiquettes, like the famous lion capital of the pillar found at Sarnath, which we have spoken of. The edicts include information about Ashoka's thoughts and actions, providing information about the ruler's lives. Here we have paraphrased a set of 14 edicts that the emperor decreed for his subjects. Although all 14 edicts are listed here, the key ones I've pulled out for you are number 2, medical care for humans as well as animals throughout his empire. 6, he encouraged his subjects to report to him their concerns regarding the welfare of the administration at all times, no matter where he is or what he is doing. And 7, he welcomed all religions as they, people, desire self-control and purity of heart. These edicts are important because they introduced ideas that were revolutionary in his time. In fact, we can connect this to present day with the idea of universal healthcare being quite controversial in modern America. 6 shows how his administration was. Hello again, guys. So there's a 10-minute time limit on Screencastify, and unfortunately my presentation isn't done, and I have a lot of good information still to come, and I do not want to cut it off. So we'll just continue where we cut off. I was talking about Ashoka's edicts, and specifically number 6, and how they connected to modern time. So, number 6 shows how his administration was concerned with the people and how they centered on the quality of life of the people. 7 emphasizes Ashoka's religious tolerance in India, which he found very important according to several sources, some of them primary. Here we have the rest of the 14 of Ashoka's edicts. Most of Ashoka's edicts relate to moral obligations and the treatment of certain groups. Some talk about dharma, which is generally connected to Buddhism. However, in India, it was part of their way of life, guiding them to happiness. Here we have a picture of an inscription. The primary source and print published source I used agreed that, interesting enough, Ashoka also went by King Piyadasiya, which made scholars and historians question his existence for a long time. After a long analysis, it was discovered that the legendary Ashoka was also King Piyadasi. That's the end of my presentation. Here are my sources. The yellow highlighted sources include my primary source and printed published source. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, use the comment section on Flipgrid. That's about it for my presentation. I hope you guys watched the first part of my video if you're listening to this now. Have a great day. Bye.